Well, they've got
they've
got artificial things that look just the same, but traditionalists say that it's not quite good enough. But no one is going to notice, apart from the bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Can I just say one more thing?
Of course.
Can I apply for the job of deleting your texts when you've read them?
Somebody needs to do it.
Yeah, all right. I know.
Okay, you can start first thing Monday morning. Thanks a lot, Jan. 0345 6060 973. Let's see if I've read this one. Gord texts, Angela Rayner has a political personality that really cuts through, but where is Yvette Cooper? She's one of the smartest MPs and used to make mincemeat of Theresa May's tortured expositions of policy. What a PM she would make. Poor Mrs M. Kick off your comedy clown shoes, Mrs M. Put your feet up. Relax. You deserve it. Paul says the people in the north are still looking for... by the way, Theresa May. I mean, compare Theresa May to this catastrophic clown show that we got going on here at the moment.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I mean, people were decrying Theresa May. Please. Paul says people in the north are looking for the mythical pot of gold at the rainbow's end, and they won't stop voting Conservative till they find what they've been promised. Maybe they should look up the definition of myth. Well, I keep saying this, that the people keep voting for the Tories, the people that voted for Brexit, they will keep doing it because to do anything else would be to admit that they've been had, which would mean two things. First, a loss of face, and second, a loss of hope. So they will keep doing it again and again and again, and the longer it goes and the more obvious it is that they've been had, the more they will dig their heels in to maintain the notion that they actually did the right thing in the first place. Don't want to lose face, don't want to lose hope. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. It's 11:30. The news headlines with Alice Bell.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Shut up.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. Twitter @LBC. Jason says, Keir Starmer called for Boris's resignation when he was under police investigation. Starmer should have resigned by now. David Miliband would scare the Tories as a replacement. Yeah, but Boris didn't resign. Why should Starmer resign if Johnson didn't resign? And Johnson isn't under investigation. Well, he is, I think. But he's been fined already. Guilty. Still hasn't resigned. I mean, the hypocrisy between the Conservatives over this is just absolutely staggering to behold. Can you hear yourselves? Leeds. Hello, Alex.
Oh, good evening, Nick. How are you?
All right, thanks.
Before I get to my main point, I've been quite curious about these, the sound clips that you use after each break when you return to the show. And I've been using the interweb, and I found out where some of those sound clips have come from. I won't spoil it for the rest of your audience, but
you've been investigating it.
I have, and I'm a curious type of fella. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'll put that to one side. Yeah, so the animals aboard bill, which is either going to get ditched or watered down. And it was first mentioned in The Guardian in February this year that, as reported in the Times, for tomorrow, that they were going to ditch those elements that you've mentioned around banning fur and foie gras. Now, I don't want to stir up the hornet's nest, but it could potentially cause a rift in the Johnson marriage, because his wife, Carrie Johnson, and she's on record for this actually. Mm-hmm. So I'll give her credit where it's due. She's very much anti-animal cruelty, and before she worked as a communications spokesperson for the Conservative Party, she was involved in a charity for animal rights and environmental protection. So that won't go down too well. And the second point I'm going to make very quickly is, again, if I mention the B word, Brexit.
Oh.
Sorry about that. So, Gove, Johnson, etc., were trumpeting how, once we leave the EU, we can, we'll have even tougher animal welfare standards.
Mm-hmm. Anybody believe that?
Well,
not
I think
really.
the answer is absolutely no.
Yeah, no.
Well, yeah, they were saying that. Yeah, we'll ban the live transportation of animals and all of that, and lo and behold,
yeah, we're going to be free of all of those rules and regulations of the European Union, and we're going to make them better for the people. That's what they said. Yeah, right.
How's that worked out?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
that's all I've got, Nick.
All right, excellent, well delivered. Thanks a lot, Alex. 0345 6060 973. Crazy Dog Lady tweets. That's not my description. That's hers. To be honest, I don't think most of these red wallers would vote for Labour, whoever was the leader, because they are not Johnson. They are blinded by Johnson and verging on a cult. Yeah, I would agree with that. He does seem to have a cult following. They seem to be obsessed with him. He can do no wrong.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
It seems that from my position that he does nothing but wrong, but not from theirs. They are all in. Which is probably informs why the other Tories are a little loath to get rid of him, because if his God, I don't even want to say the word, but if his magic, is it magic, Bodge? Yes. Without that, they would not vote Conservative. I mean, they just wouldn't. Although, having said that, Smug keeps getting in over and over and over again in an area of what I imagine is not particularly well off.
I don't know anything.
Yeah. They keep voting for him over and over again. So I think it's part of this sort of cap-doffing thing that is inbred in people in this country, inculcated in us from a very young age to doff our caps to anybody with a comedy posh accent. For we are born to believe that they are born to rule. It's not just them that believe they're born to rule. We are told that they're born to rule. They are better than us. They are superior. They are more informed. They are more intelligent. We should allow them to run our lives just because they speak with a comedy posh accent, which, by the way, in certain individuals is very most definitely put on.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
How can anybody fall for that? It's just a mystery. Paul says, will there ever be a day when other people don't pay for Boris Johnson's failings, or is he just a super world-beating greased piglet? Super world-beating greased piglet, Bodge.
I can't comment on that.
That's a yes. Let's have Cornwall, Bodmin, Malcolm.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Nick, just ringing to inject a little bit of realism and perspective into the conversation.
Too much bleeping perspective.
Look, on Tories and animals and pets. Tories love dogs. They love hunting dogs.
Well, they don't love hunting dogs, although maybe they actually do, but they love hunting dogs.
They love dogs. Yeah. They love dogs that hunt.
Right.
So that's where they are on pets. Nick, on the results.
And when those hunting dogs, by the way, come to the end of their life, they treat them very, very well, by which I mean shooting them in the head. When they have served their purpose, they get dead really quickly.
Nick, on the local election results, going into this election, Labour held 3,000 seats. The Tories held 1,700 seats. Now Labour are on, Labour on 2009. Labour are now over 3,000, and the Tories have gone down from nearly 1,800 to 1,300 councillors. Now,
right, you're talking about UK.
All over,
or England?
Didn't the whole of the UK.
A whole lot of us, right.
And obviously, most of that 3,000 would have been in England anyway, because of the size of England.
Yes.
So the Tories have dropped. Surely it would have been easier for the Tories to gain a few, because there's plenty in play. For Labour, they held 3,000, and they've gained 100 odd. They've gone up. And to go up from 3,000 surely is fairly difficult. And that brings me to the point, Nick, that the left of the Labour Party have been carping on about how this result was no better, and if not worse, than what Jeremy Corbyn did in 2018. But in 2018, Nick, you had Jeremy Corbyn versus May at a very low ebb. The more real comparison is Jeremy Corbyn in 2019 and Keir Starmer now. And if you compare those two sets of results, so the general election and what Jeremy Corbyn did, he delivered the worst result in Labour's history, to where Keir Starmer has moved Labour to now, which is from 2,900 to over 3,000. Keir Starmer's result in these elections, in the cold light of day, is infinitely better than what Corbyn did in 2019. Now, Nick, that then brings me on to... I'm not going to be disparaging. And these two callers, I listen to them. They're regular callers like me. And I'm speaking of Annie and Mike. Now, Annie, she says herself, she's a disabled person. Her partner is disabled. They rely on carers. And for Annie, she needs as much help as she can get. We all do we not? But if Annie thinks that the left of the Labour Party, including Angela Rayner, are going to deliver a Labour government, she could not be more wrong. There's infinite evidence to prove that. Look back at the Blair years. The only way Labour are likely to win a general election is by taking lots of Tory voters, and in that respect, things are looking good for the next general election, I believe. So for people like Annie, for Labour to lurch left, they will be doomed to ongoing being in the opposition. And on Mike, if I'm not wrong, dear old Mike, he rings in regular with advice for the Labour Party and Labour voters. Now, I seem to recall Mike saying he was once encouraged to become a Tory MP, and he knows lots of Tory MPs, and he proffers advice for the Labour Party. Again, he I'm sure, being a Tory, maybe I'm being cynical, he would love nothing more than Labour to move left, because he knows he'll be unelectable. The nation, Nick, who does not want Boris Johnson and the Tory party, has to wake up and realise that Labour has to be at the centre, because that's where most voters are, Nick, I think.
Well, yeah, I would agree with much of that, apart from the... I guess the Brexit thing does sort of cloud the water a bit, but, you know, to vote for what seems to me to be a quite right-wing Conservative party, even for the Conservatives, seems to be pretty right-wing. I mean, banning protests, for instance, how right-wing is that? I mean, that's practically Vladimir Putin, that is. Banning protests, this is a pretty right-wing government, and to continue voting for them over and over again, it rather suggests that we're not a centrist country at all.
Well, we are, Nick. Look, Boris Johnson is in trouble because of where he's taken the Conservative Party. An awful lot of the Tory party do not like where it and they are heading. It's okay in the heat of the Prime Minister's question time to scream at the opposition, but in the colder light of day, they're going to need to be re-elected as well, or they're going to be on the dole, the same as, you know, an awful lot of people. But it's the Labour Party, Nick, they're not going to be elected from the left. And the other night I spoke to you, and I spoke about the Red Wall. And the Red Wall, Nick, they're not going to shift because of Brexit. Brexit and it succeeding is the only thing they've got. Because
exactly right. Well, I keep saying that. It's a loss of face and a loss of hope to admit that they've been had. So they'll never admit that they've been had, despite all of the evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, but the Red Wall, Nick, if Labour thinks that they're going to win the Red Wall over, then they're going to win some of it back. But the bulk of it, they proved it by voting for it. They proved it for something completely unknown that many, many knowledgeable people told them it would be a disaster. Yeah. You and James O'Brien and myself included.
Right. Well, I'm not knowledgeable, but go on.
No, Nick, you don't have to be knowledgeable to understand that if you're leaving the European as a market, you're off your tree. And if you're sailing out into the world, even as it was in 2019 when Johnson was elected, so insecure, so because of popularism and all that sort of stuff.
All of that sort of stuff.
Orban,
it was,
all that.
Yeah. Being surrounded by fewer foreigners.
We knew where it was going.
It was.
We knew where it was going.
There was a tsunami. We were being invaded by foreigners, and that's what that was about. There's this quite interesting letter from a former European Commission official and diplomat in the Financial Times. I'll just read it briefly. Well, in fact, I'll read it in full, but it is brief. Thanks a lot, Malcolm. It says, sanctions Brexit imposes should be a wake-up call. It says, I could scarcely believe my eyes when I read Jacob Rees-Mogg's comment that imposing post-Brexit checks on imports from the EU, postponed for a fourth time, would save the UK £1 billion from the consequences of his own government's actions. Yet this self-revelation is merely one aspect of the whole Brexit exercise. According to our top non-governmental experts, if I may put their findings backwards, not doing Brexit at all would have saved us cumulative losses of £87 billion a year in gross domestic product. £87 billion a year in gross domestic product and £32 billion a year in lost inland revenue, something the crafty Brexiter Chancellor Rishi Sunak never mentions. In the past couple of months or so, we've all become experts on sanctions against Russia. It's time more people realise that, led by Boris Johnson, our own government has in fact been imposing broad and deeply damaging sanctions on the British population since 2016 by means of Brexit. Anyone who votes for this pack of loonies again must be gaga, says Michael Lake, former European Commission official and diplomat. That doesn't sound like very diplomatic speak there, Michael. Loonies, you say? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbot.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
0345 6060 973. Woolwich, Richard.
Oh, hi, Nick. Nice to chat.
Richard.
Nick, the thing I found bizarre today, and it made me quite angry, but typical of Boris Johnson, is the fact that there's kind of rumour that he's going to have a cabinet reshuffle.
Yeah.
And that's just like, is this man completely oblivious? Has he got so many blind spots that he can't see that the biggest complaint at the doorstep, apparently, was him? It's got nothing to do with his cabinet. And he's yet again, he's just deflecting, and he's going to fire a load of people when he's the guy that should be taking the hit.
This is a person who has spent his whole life getting away with it. He cannot conceive of not being able to get his way, and he will take everybody down rather than admit that he is at fault and do the decent thing. This is the beauty of not having shame, being shameless.
Yeah, no, completely. And I don't know. It just got to me today. I mean, it's amusing in some respects because it feels like this guy doesn't just. I mean, I meet some of these characters. I've met some in my life. You know, they have apps. It's not even blind spots. They just don't have any clue about self-awareness in that way. You know, that was all I really wanted to do.
They cannot conceive that they are not practically perfect in every way.
Yeah, and even his schoolmaster discerned that when he was, at that wretched school. So, yeah.
He's the same untucked, squiffy-haired schoolboy he always was. He's always been getting away with it his entire life by turning on the charm and going, paw! And people go, oh, he's doing his best. All right, thanks a lot, Richard. It's vomitous, isn't it? It really is. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Boris Johnson remains an electoral asset to the Conservatives. A cabinet minister has insisted. This is despite the Tories suffering a net loss of about 500 seats in local elections across Britain. 500. And they're still saying, oh, well done, Bodge. Guess which cabinet minister it was? That's right. Nadeem Zahawi.
Oh, no.
Mr. Umanar. Nadeem Zahawi urged Tory MPs not to move against his imperial bodgeness. He said the numbers are clear. He said...
And one, two,
3,
6 million.
No! He is an asset, absolutely, said Nadeem Zahawi. He says if you look at the way that Boris cuts through in places like Nuneaton, places like Newcastle under Lyme, other parts of the country as well, Harrow in London, he said, cuts through. What, looms through the television at you, you mean? Paw! Or do you mean that people are still believing the lies? Or do you mean that people are still clinging on to the desperate hope that Brexit might actually deliver some of what was promised? Anything in that list? In a message to Tory colleagues, Nadeem Zahawi, the horse stable heating guy, said, people don't like to vote for split parties, for teams that are divided. We are stronger when we are united. That would be my message to all my colleagues. When the kids are united, they will never be divided. Get Jimmy Percy on the phone right now. Some bloke's nicking his material.
Rock and roll!
As of Saturday morning, with only a couple of counts to go, it was the Tories on minus 500 council seats, including 341 in England, 63 in Scotland and 86 in Wales. Or, as the Express would put it, a great success for the Conservative Party. Brave Boris is our hero. Marcus Fish, the Tory MP for Yeovil, said he was devastated. Devastated, he said, by the loss of Somerset County Council to the Liberal Democrats. Liberal Democrats! No! Those people. He said, we need a radical change of approach on the economy, and I don't think the team we've got is as... He said, we need a radical change of approach on the economy, and I don't think the team we've got, as currently constituted, is capable of delivering that. Well, you can say that again. He said, we need to discuss amongst colleagues whether Boris is the right person to do that. Well, he doesn't actually do anything, does he? I mean, you think he's sitting down with a piece of paper, working out economic policy? Come off it. He's too busy dressing up in other people's work clothes to get his photograph taken. Paw! He goes. He doesn't actually do anything, surely. I mean, he hasn't got time, what with the Act and all. Marcus Fish said, we need radical change. Radical. We need to discuss amongst colleagues whether Bodge is the right person to do that. Or, any of the other sycophants and head nodders and supercilious old Etonian grasping faux religious windbags that surround him. What do you say, Smug?
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
On Friday, David Simmons, the Tory MP for Ruislip, Northwood and Pinner, said a change of leader could be one way of restoring public confidence in the government after admitting Partygate had caused a major loss of trust. Restoring confidence. How? I mean, only if you had a total clear-out. Only if none of the current crop remained. See, you can't change the front door and tell us that you've got a new house. You've got to pull the whole thing down and start again. Any chance of that?
No.
No chance. Sir Roger Gale, the first Tory to announce no confidence in Boris Johnson, suggested a challenge could come within as little as 3 weeks. He said there's a tide that's flowing that's unstoppable. Like a tide of raw sewage that flows into our rivers now that we don't have to adhere to those pesky EU rules on pollution. Another senior Tory backbencher said to The Independent that it was now clearly very much in the interests of both Labour and the Liberal Democrats to keep Boris in place, said that MP. He's clearly leading us down, not up. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with a senior Tory backbencher. In fact, I've been saying this for weeks. Wind back the tape. Keep the charmless clothes skip in place to remind everyone who the party he leads are. Because the longer people see him, the less they like him. He's like an artificial cream trifle. I mean, sounds good in theory, looks good until you take a bite out of it. Then you wouldn't want more than a couple of mouthfuls. Then you feel a little bit bilious. That's Boris Johnson in a nutshell. Tory peer Lord Hayward said there's been a revolt of the upper to middle class against Johnson's leadership. The election analyst said it was the university-educated, managerial, Remain-oriented groups who have defected, while many long-term Conservative supporters had stayed at home during the local elections. It's weird, isn't it? The more intelligent and successful and educated people get, the less they like him. Huh. I wonder why that is.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He's like a stupid person's idea of what a smart person's like. Just as smug is a poor person's idea of what a posh person is.
I don't know anything.
Almost as though their schooling has taught them that the only thing they need to know is to say something with conviction and authority, and even if it is the total opposite of the truth, enough people will believe you to allow you to get away with it. That's the beauty of an expensive education, eh, Bodge? It doesn't actually teach you anything more than knowing how to get away with it.
I can't comment on that.
Sounds like a yes to me. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. I do want to talk about Hazza and Sparkles, because they're going to ruin Her Majesty's Jubilee, if you can believe that. And much else besides. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
0345 6060 973. Let me just see how many texts and emails and so on I have to... Oh, my God. 18 pages. You've got to be having a laugh, ain't you? 18 pages. I'll never read that lot. I want to talk about Hazza and Sparkles, because it's just moments away, the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. After the couple announced their comeback, just minutes after it was revealed that they were banned from Buckingham Palace balcony, Hazza and Sparkles' return to the UK risks becoming the focus of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, royal experts warned.
Warning, warning.
This is sensational news. A sensational statement at 3 p.m. said the couple, as well as the Chooky York, would not be invited onto the balcony for the Trooping of the Colour, the spectacular start of her week-long celebration. You remember the Duke of York, don't you?
Boo!
Yeah, that's him. Then, just 18 minutes, count them, after this sensational statement, the Sussexes revealed in a tweet via their friend and journalist Omid Scobie that they will still fly in from California with Archie 3 and Lilibet 11 months. The events begin on June the 2nd, and they are to mark the monarch's 70 years on the throne. June the 2nd. Well, that's not far away, is it? Are you ready? Have you got your bunting? What about cake? There are warnings that Hazza and Sparkles' mere presence back in the UK threatens to overshadow the festivities, principally because the press just can't help themselves writing endlessly on and on about both of them like they're the devil made flesh in a married couple. They're just people. People. A royal expert said. There seems to be so many royal experts, and every single one of them has got an inside scoop that they just made up. A royal expert said if the palace is not remarkably careful, the Sussexes will milk the celebrations for their own benefit. Well, that would be odd if a member of the full royal family milked an occasion for their own benefit. Royal author Angela said that the Queen had made a great decision to restrict the balcony to working royals, adding, "It will have such a different positive atmosphere if there are working royals who support Her Majesty." Working royals. Waving and smiling and chatting. Work? Here's a list of working royals who are in. You'll see these people on the balcony. Princess Alexandra, Duchess of Gloucester, Prince Richard, Viscount Severn, Lady Louise Windsor, Vice Admiral Timothy Lawrence. Any ideas on who they are?
No.
No, me neither. I've never even heard of them. I mean, would you bet your weekly wage on recognising any of them in a lineup?
No.
On the Sussex's decision to attend other events, a royal expert said the focus will be on them and how they behave. Like they're going to get drunk and start throwing bottles around. The focus will be on them and how they behave, which the jubilee shouldn't be about, says a royal expert. But it will only be the focus, of course, because the press can't stop focusing on them. If the press didn't focus on them, then they wouldn't be the focus of Her Majesty's press. It's so bizarre. Everything about their coverage is just truly weird. It's a symbiotic relationship, of course. I mean, the press probably get more from it than the royal personages. But just to just keep hammering on and on and on, it's like getting a bit creepy, isn't it? They're just people. They're just people who wanted to live their own life, that's all. They didn't want to be in a cage waving and smiling for the rest of their lives. Who would? A palace spokesmodel said, "The Queen has decided this year's traditional Trooping the Colour balcony appearance on Thursday, June the 2nd, will be limited to Her Majesty and those members of the royal family who are currently undertaking official public duties on behalf of the Queen." The names for some of which I've just given you. And I bet you've got not one single clue who they are. It's understood the Sussexes have been invited to other jubilee events, likely to include a donkey derby and a bingo night in Scunthorpe. Just keep them out of the way entirely. The symbolic Trooping the Colour ban will be widely viewed as a rejection of Hazza and Sparkles, who quit the monarchy for a new life in the US 2 years ago. And, of course, to Andy, who was cast out of the institution over his civil sexual assault case that saw him hand £12 million to one of Jeffrey Epstein's sex slaves, so says the Mail. Both of which, by the way, Hazza and Sparkles and Andy, seem to be equally awful in the eyes of the press. I don't think Andy has been cast out. The Queen has it in her power to strip him of his titles like she did to Hazza and Sparkles. She didn't. The symbolic Trooping of the Colour, done that bit. Royal biographer Tom told Mail Online that the Queen had ended the mystery fast created by the Sussexes about whether they would be on the balcony, but warned the couple, who have a big money deal with Netflix, they may try to milk the Jubilee. In the same way that the royal family have a big money deal with the British public that they milk at every opportunity. It's about £80 million a year, I think, and going up all the time. The event on June the 2nd is going to kickstart 4 days of Jubilee festivities, with 18 members of the royal family set together on the famous frontage. 18 members of the royal family. I bet if I offered you £1,000, you wouldn't be able to name 18 members of the royal family. The Queen is looking forward to the weekend celebrations, apparently. So says a royal expert who can read minds. And they all come up with the same stuff. Oh, well, of course, Her Majesty rises at 7:34 and then goes into the green room and breakfasts on the finest comestibles. Oh, got no idea. Experts said the decision should be viewed as a victory for Prince Charles and Prince William, As proof, the Sussexes are excluded from the firm and Andy has been ordered to disappear. Well, how come his photograph keeps appearing in the papers all the time? Not very much of a disappearing act. Speaking during the Invictus Games last month, see, this is what he did, and he doesn't get any credit for it at all. Speaking during the Invictus Games last month, Hazza insisted that he did not know if he and Sparkles and Archie and Lilibet would return to the UK to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, saying there are security issues and everything else. Everything else? Yeah, I think that's you, the Daily Mail. I think that's what he means by everything else. Joining the Queen on the balcony for the trooping will be the Prince of Wales, the Duchess of Cornwall, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, the Earl and Countess of Wessex, the Princess Royal, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, the Duke of Kent, Princess Alexandra, Vice Admiral Sir Tim Lawrence, Prince George, Prince Charlotte, Prince Louis, the Wessex's children, Lady Louise Windsor, and James Viscount Severn. You know who any of those are?
No.
They couldn't fit any more people on that balcony. That balcony is in danger of collapse. Don't go there, Hazza. Don't do it, Sparkles. It ain't worth it. Still, I'm sure it'll be marvellous. It'll be on TV, no doubt. Will you all be in? Because it'll probably be beautiful outside. I've looked at the weather. It's going to be about sort of mid-70s. You're going to be stuck inside watching TV?
No.
No. Ronnie says, I live in one of the red wall areas in the Midlands. The mixture of people round here are either the ones that have a few quid, who think they're millionaires, and those that think that Boris is okay because they're thick as a fridge door. Well, that's offensive, Ronnie. Ashley says, presumably the only reason Keir Starmer may resign is because the police issued him a fine for being at an event that broke lockdown rules, the same rules he voted for. If that's the case, surely Angela Rayner will not be a likely leadership contender because she was reportedly at the same event as Sir Keir and would also be implicated. Maybe I've missed something. Yet the part where Boris Johnson didn't resign. You missed that bit. And half the staff at Number 10, by the way. And Fishy Sunak, and all of the rest of them. But apparently we are to ignore that because, people are concentrating on Keir Starmer now. Boris Johnson got a pass because he was found to be guilty. Those who haven't actually been found to be guilty yet, they go to prison. Because that seems to be the logic. There isn't any. Logic, I mean. Gaz says, if Starmer goes, if he's finished... If Starmer goes, if he's fined, that's it. I think Yvette Cooper should step up as she has a good talent, experience and a good orator. And no to Andy Burnham. He's staying put where he is. He's ours and very good at being Manchester Mayor, says Gaz. He's making a decision on his behalf. Very territorial, Gaz. And Heather says, when the Labour leadership was planning to go nuclear over Cakegate, did no one say, hold on, can we be sure there wasn't a single occasion over the past 2 years where we did similar? What a high-risk strategy, says Heather. I would imagine they did rack their brains and couldn't come up with a single event that they thought was in any way comparable. And from what I've seen, and you have seen so far, it looks like they were completely correct in every respect. Unless I'm missing something. 0345 6060 973, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
It's a radio show, dear. 0345 6060 973. Laura texts, the key to happiness is to get all of your news through satire. That's not a bad idea, Laura. Get all of your news from Have I Got News For You? Other satire programmes are available. Actually, are they? Is there another satire news show on television? I can't think of one off the top of my head. But there must be. Well, you could pick up a Private Eye. Just skip the bit at the front and go straight to the cartoons. Yeah, that's a good idea, Laura. The key to happiness is to get all of your news through Satire. Happiness. You remember being amused, don't you?
No.
Joe texts, remembering Nick Ferrari's interview, Diane Abbott would be a good minister for education as she's very good with figures and can add up. Like Zaphod.
And 1,
2,
2,
3,
11.
No. Rob says if Keir Starmer is investigated and if he's found to have broken the rules and gets issued with a penalty, he should stand up in the Commons and announce that he will pay the penalty and then do the right and proper thing and resign as Labour leader. He should go on to announce that he will tender his resignation the minute after the Queen has confirmed that she has accepted Johnson's resignation as PM. If Starmer should do the right thing and resign about this issue, then Johnson must too, especially as Johnson made the rules that he broke. If Johnson doesn't resign, why should Starmer? Yeah, the problem with Keir Starmer standing up and saying that he will do the right thing is that Boris Johnson absolutely, totally and definitely will not do the right thing. It's that let's both jump at the same time thing. Keir Starmer would be in mid-air, plummeting, before he realises that Johnson didn't jump too. He ain't going to do it. He can't conceive of not leaving his post with anything other than a fanfare. He wants to hear people's applause ringing in his ears as he leaves. He doesn't want to leave like Margaret Thatcher, crying in the back of a car. He wants to be taken out of there on a cloud of perfumed air. Rob Tex, and he will do absolutely everything in his power in order to engineer that. No amount of money will be too much to spend on engineering his glorious exit. His future earnings depend on it. Because if he leaves in ignominy, then he won't be able to charge, I don't know, £500,000 for a speech, and which will be the same speech that he gave the previous week to a different audience. He'll pretend that he's arrived late and he hasn't tucked his shirt in. He's like, oh, where am I? Do all that routine. And then he'll do the pre-rehearsed script, which looks like he's making it up on the spot. He does that. Rob texts, if Keir Starmer is investigated... Have I read this one? Yes, I have. Very, very long text there, Rob. I'm not going to read it again. I don't want to, and you can't make me. Goldie says, Sir Keir says the police investigation is a non-story. Politicians don't get to decide what is and isn't a story, I'm afraid. Yes. Well, that would be the press, wouldn't it? They apparently the Mail have got some. Have we got the front pages yet? Are the front pages out yet?
Yeah, I'll get the Mail.
Okay. Well, the Mail they teased on their website shocking revelations about Keir Starmer, but we're not going to tell you yet. You've got to go and buy the paper tomorrow.
Oh no!
Yeah, you've got to go buy the paper tomorrow, and then we'll tell you about the shocking revelations. You remember? It seems like years ago, the front page of the Daily Mail said, don't they know there's a war on? Stop talking about all this Partygate stuff. No one's interested in Partygate. And then they heard that Keir Starmer had a beer, and suddenly it was the most interesting thing they've ever heard in their lives. They forgot that there was a war on. War? What war? Billy says the difference is that Starmer did not stand up on the television every evening, telling us what we could and couldn't do, having made up the rules and then walking off set to break them. Yes, the absolute nerve of that man. Stay at home, save the NHS, and do your bit. I can't remember what it was like. One of them three-part phrases. None of you can go out. You all must stay in under penalty of being fined. Now, will you please excuse me, because there's 100 people behind me and a bottle of champagne with my name on it. We're having a party. Okay, the headline. Wow, it's absolutely the headline. There's barely enough room on this Mail on Sunday's front page for a picture of Camilla the Duchess of Whatsit, looking fabulous in those jewels, if you don't mind me saying, ma'am. How much did that hair cost? I'm guessing £600. A £600 haircut. Here's the headline. The exclusive convulsing Westminster. Keir Starmer's Beergate story blown apart by leaked memo. Confidential file from inside Labour HQ reveals full hypocrisy of leaders' endless calls for PM to resign. Hypocrisy. They've actually got the nerve to put the word hypocrisy on their front page. I can't believe it. Meanwhile, disgruntled Tory MPs have told Boris Johnson that momentum, not that momentum behind a challenge to his leadership is now unstoppable after the Tories lost about 500 councillors in a string of flagship councils. It is unstoppable. It's a tidal wave of disapproval. And in answer, the Prime Minister went on TV and said, "Paw!" This did little to settle nerves among PMs in traditionally rock-solid Tory seats in the affluent capital in the South East, where the party saw Wandsworth, Westminster and Barnet fall to Labour after decades under Tory control. And Woking was captured by the Liberal Democrats. They got woke in Woking. I bet the councils of Wandsworth and Westminster will suddenly mysteriously find that there is no money coming from central government anymore. They're going to be stripped of their funds, I betcha. You people in Wandsworth and Westminster are about to get punished. You made the wrong choice. Big mistake, huge. Public anger over Downing Street parties was now permanently baked into voters' views of the Prime Minister, acting as a drag on the party's performance across the country, warned Conservative MPs. They're not happy with you, Bodge. Others said that the public are no longer interested in Partygate and that we must all move on. Yeah, like there's discordance in the ranks. But you know what? The public is interested in what the public is interested in, and no amount of chiding from Tories is going to make us forget about it. You can't bully us out of being angry. Some pretty big results. The Tories lost overall control of John Major's home council and David Cameron's area and John Redwood's area. And the Lib Dems made big inroads in the so-called Blue Wall, with their overall tally of councillors up by 180. And yet somehow the Tories did very, very well. They managed expectations. They said, well, we're going to lose 800 councillors. So when they only lost 500, only in inverted commas, it made it seem, wow, of course, that's a tremendous success. We told you we were going to lose 800. They weren't going to lose 800. Celebrating successes that also saw the Lib Dems take Hull from Labour and gain control of new authorities in Westmoreland and Somerset. The Lib Dem leader, anyone? Anyone at all? No? Ed Davey is another Sir. God, they're everywhere. Sir Ed said, the tectonic plates of British politics are shifting. Now it's up to Conservative MPs to shove the Prime Minister into the abyss. Well, they're going to have to find a bigger abyss. No offence. Keir Starmer said the results in London, as well as Crawley and Southampton, which they snatched from the Tories, and Kirklees and Rossendale and Worthing, where they gained overall control, marked a massive turning point for Labour, whose overall gains topped 260. Did they? Elections guru John Curtis said that the vote share of 35% for Labour and 30% for the Conservatives, 19% for the Lib Dems, which is pretty good for the Lib Dems, really. I mean, they were in single digits for a little while there. That would give the Tories no prospect of being able to remain in office, as in zero, after the next general election. Would set the scene for Starmer to enter number 10 and be propped up by the Liberal Democrats. At which point the Conservatives will blame them for the state of the nation that they have been running for the last 13 years. They haven't even taken power, and it's all Keir Starmer's fault. No! Thanks a lot, Keir Starmer. You see what you haven't done yet? One Conservative former minister told The Independent that shoring up support in red wall areas cannot compensate for the crumbling of traditional strongholds. That's right. He said, these are the Boris heartlands, and they're not the Tory heartlands. See, that really informs why they're disinclined to get rid of him. Because no ordinary Conservative MP would be able to reach the parts that Boris Johnson seems to be able to do. Because he's the funny bloke off the telly. Some people still believe that. I guess the news hasn't reached some areas yet. Another ex-minister said it was clear that the party had been gearing up for a leadership contest in recent days and that the result of the local elections would make no difference to that process. Well, it's taken them a while, isn't it? I bet that Boris Johnson is willing to take the whole lot of them down if they try to push him out. He's like Donald Trump, totally focused on himself and what he can get out of any situation. And if he doesn't win, everybody else has to lose too.
Donald Trump is not a nice person.
Across the country, regional and national Tory leaders blamed Bodge for undermining support for the party locally. In Cumberland, where Labour swept to an overwhelming majority in the council area represented by Tories in Westminster, former Carlisle City Councillor leader John Mallinson said voters no longer had confidence that the Prime Minister can be relied on to tell the truth. Well, that's putting it a bit mildly. I mean, but what does he mean by no longer have confidence that he can be relied on to tell the truth? One senior Tory backbencher told The Independent it was now clearly very much in the interest of both Labour and Liberal Democrats to keep Boris in place. He clearly is leading us down, not up. Yeah, I keep saying that. It seems bizarre to me that the left are, they specialise in shooting themselves in the foot. Why are they insisting on insisting on saying that he should go? Just keep him where he is. Remind people of, everything. Another senior MP said anger and mistrust were now baked into many viewers' views of Johnson. He says once you lose faith in someone, it's very hard to get it back. The former minister said, I think he will get to the autumn. My hunch is the moment of maximum danger for him will be the party conference, because there'll be a feeling that the dip in the polls is permanent and we're running out of time to get a new leader before the next election. Well, if he does get to the party conference in the autumn, he's going to call an early election, because then he'll be able to say, well, you can't get rid of me now. It's too soon, too near the next election. Nothing is off the table. Would it be too much to ask, though, that a politician actually acted in the interest of the country rather than in their own interests?
Yes.
It would be astonishing if one actually did, wouldn't it? What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. It's just past 12:30 on LBC. The news headlines with Alice Bell.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbot.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Yeah, it's about beer and a curry. The Mail. Here it is. Keir Starmer's Beergate story blown apart by leaked memo. You are being prepared to be stunned and shocked. Keir Starmer has been plunged into a full-scale leadership crisis after the Mail on Sunday obtained a secret Labour Party document which appears to shatter his version of events over Beergate. An operational note drawn up ahead of Sir Keir's notorious visit to Durham, where he was filmed enjoying a late-night beer with activists, reveals that the gathering had been planned in advance. The bombshell document, marked private and confidential, also calls into serious doubt Sir Keir's claim that he returned to work after the beers and takeaway curries. After the entry recording The Dinner in Miners Hall, which includes a note to arrange takeaway from Spice Lounge, a local curry house, the document simply says end of visit. Is that it? Is that it? That's not very much, is it? As opposed to the orgiastic shenanigans going on at number 10. Forget about that. You had a quiet curry and a beer. Hackney, hello, Richard.
Hello, Nick. You've stolen my thunder a little there because I've just read the same thing you have, but on Twitter.
Right.
Incredible that the way that they're going to prove that Keir Starmer's work event was not a work event is by publishing his work itinerary, where it is clearly laid down with times when it will start and when it will stop. I just wonder if does Bodger have in his diary birthday party 1:15 to 2:15 in the Downing Street diaries?
Yeah.
Can we see those?
Yeah, probably not, no. I would expect that the readers of the Mail will read the headline and that's it. The headline says, Keir Starmer's Beergate story blown apart by leaked memo. And they'll think, right, well, and think no more about it, not read a single solitary other word. There is a subheadline which says, confidential file from inside Labour HQ reveals full hypocrisy of leaders' endless calls for PM to resign. So they use the word hypocrisy. It's just comical.
Well, I noticed they've said who's going to bring the curry. YS to arrange takeaway from Spice Lounge. They haven't said who's going to bring over the Keir Starmer's wife and his interior decorator to be at the dinner as well.
Yeah.
Because it's not a party until they're there.
That's right.
This whole thing with the local elections is just when you think it can't get any crazier.
It does.
It does. I'll give you an example from us here in the People's Republic of Hackney.
Oh, yeah.
Is that people are getting very cross about these traffic calming.
Yeah, that's what the people in Hull are telling me. That's why they went Lib Dem, because there's too many cyclists on the road.
Exactly. I mean, we have them in our area, and I tell you that the fact that I don't have to go out once a month and scrape the black grime off my front door just infuriates me. I mean, where is the poison in the air that I should be getting, that other people are getting?
Fresh, delicious British poison. Now we're out of the European Union. We don't have to suck up any of that clean European air, and we can die an early death on British poisonous air. Very, very angry about that.
I'm just going to tell you the results from here. Is that because one of the school mums group that we're in is a Labour councillor, and they're very cross because the electorate has shown their displeasure at these measures by voting for another party.
Yeah.
They voted Green. They voted in 2 Green councillors.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, you're so angry at road traffic closures.
Yeah, they're so angry they can't see. They can't see colour anymore.
Yeah, you're going to vote in your local Green councillor because they're going to bring back the 18-wheel diesel truck.
Very pro-car, the Greens.
Very pro-car.
People just don't like change. It's really bizarre. Even if the change is for their benefit. I mean, what kind of a person wants their road to be used as a rat run? If I was on a side road, I would want someone to put planters at the end of my road so that only people that live on my road would drive up and down it. Why would anybody want otherwise?
Well, exactly. I mean, not only have the council put in planters, and we're right next to a primary school as well, and it used to be a stationary car park.
Yes.
And I used to watch all of these 4-year-old, 5-year-old kids being walked down the street and just walking past endless cars belching out fumes.
Yeah.
And the thing I said about having to clear the door every month is not a joke. We would go and clean the door, and you'd run a thing across it, and there'd just be this black gunge.
Yeah, well, they're cleaning the not Buckingham Palace, the Palace of Westminster at the moment, and it's remarkable what colour of stone is underneath all of that filth.
I do remember back for the millennium, someone suggested that instead of building a dome, we could have just had London cleaned, like had it sandblasted.
For £1 billion, yeah.
Yeah, like just erase 3 centuries of muck. And I still think that would have been a better... Anyway, not only have they put great road traffic calming things, they're actually planters. And they've got
flowers.
Magnolias in them.
Well, I tell you what, if there's anything that makes people angrier than flowers, I don't know of it.
The guy that lives on our street has gone down at Christmas. He went down and he put fairy lights in them.
Wow!
So we had magnolias with fairy lights in them.
Lovely.
So, yeah, again, but no, it's not lovely. It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's the end of civilization.
I forgot about
and
that.
You can only fix it by voting green.
Makes as much sense as anything else I've heard this year.
It does.
All right, thanks a lot.
One last thing.
And another thing, yes.
Yeah. This is just something I've just read right now. I didn't realise that when Boris said he'd unite the country, he meant Ireland.
These are the jokes, folks. All right, thanks a lot, Richard. 0345 6060 973. The other thing that we learned from the front page of the Mail, by the way, is that Camilla, Duchess of Whatsit, has a secret love for Heinz baked beans. That's the other headline on the front page of the Mail on Sunday. Camilla's secret love for Heinz baked beans. Remarkable interview on her life in food. So, I will definitely be picking up a copy of that in my news agent tomorrow. 0345 6060 973. Apparently it's all over Twitter. Twitter is ablaze with these with this exclusive convulsing Westminster, which doesn't appear to amount to much, not to my eyes. You know, as opposed to the orgiastic shenanigans going over on at number 10, for instance. I mean, it's just desperate, isn't it? They're seeing the end of the, what I imagine is a free ride for the offshore billionaires, the offshore billionaire press barons, and they're just freaking out just at the very idea. Holly says, I'm so angry. Uh-oh. I'm so angry, says Holly, I am literally frothing at the mouth. I'm having to do some late-night planting of tomato and pepper seeds to calm myself down. I don't care about the Queen's Jubilee or who's going to be on the balcony. Them waving to us and going on these expensive tours is so cringe and out of touch. Also, bit of a personal question, but what do you wear on your feet? I can't decide if Crocs are cool or not. What are your thoughts? Are Crocs cool? No. And furthermore...
No.
What do I wear on my feet? Well, first of all, socks. I just don't understand people who don't wear socks in shoes. How can you do that? I mean, aren't you just swimming in 2 pools of your own sweat after about 10 minutes? That's awful.
Disgusting.
No socks. So you got to have socks and then shoes is my preference. Not flip-flops and definitely not Crocs. Trainers, always. May tweets, why do you keep saying Jubilee like that? It's pronounced Jubilee. You're giving me a panic attack. I say it because there's a story a little while ago of somebody, like a manufacturer was producing souvenirs for the auspicious occasion, and they spelt it wrong. And I think they had, thousands of plates and cups and saucers for Her Majesty's Jubilee. And they didn't know what to do with them because, what would you do with them? I personally would have bought one, but I think they were selling them as a job lot and you had to buy about 10 tons of the stuff. So I don't know where they ended up, but if you manage to acquire one yourself and you don't want it anymore, then you know where to send it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
Phil tweets, I don't really understand what Sir Keir stands for. I hope he goes and someone like Angela Rayner or Andy Burnham becomes the Labour leader. Well, what does he stand for? You hear that a lot. Oh, I can't vote for Labour. They haven't got any policies. Well, they do. Just look them up. Maggie says, Starmer's finished, only a matter of time. Well, that's the case with everybody. Everyone's finished, Maggie. It's only a matter of time. Anne says, I've got a request, a really big one. Please, with sugar on top, can everybody stop suggesting Angela Rayner as Labour leader? She might be the bee's knees, but we need to get Boris Johnson out, capital letters, exclamation mark. I beg everyone to listen. Millions of moderate Tories need to put a cross in the Labour box, and half of those millions will never vote Rayner. Even if you provide a curry and a beer at the ballot box, she's very popular with Labour voters, but we need more than Labour votes, says Anne. Well, that's true. But the last part, most certainly, yeah. Yvonne, but you know, why? Because to me, Angela Rayner is the opposite in every way of Boris Johnson. So if we accept Boris Johnson as our leader, why not Angela Rayner? Is it because she's not posh? Certain element of people, well, everybody, an element of this country has been trained to accept posh as a leader, regardless of whether they're actually leader material or not. If they speak posh, then we assume that they have the kind of character traits that are necessary to lead us. A few other countries are like that, just us. I mean, it's ingrained in us. Capped offers to a man and woman. But not the other way around. Highly distrustful of people what don't talk posh. Bizarre. So if Bodge is a leader material, as is evident that he isn't, but people don't question it, do they? I mean, what so far leads you to think that Boris Johnson is leader material? But people just utterly dismiss the concept of Angela Rayner being leadership material because she's not posh. It's a funny old country, this. Yvonne says, would you agree that Boris got the vaccine sorted? No, Yvonne, I would not agree. The vaccine was sorted first of all by pharmaceutical companies and universities in this country which were using public money. That's the start of it. And the second, the only thing about the pandemic that they got right was the one thing that this government got out of the way of and then took the credit for. Ashley tweets, surely if Keir Starmer resigns because he's received a fine for being at an event that broke lockdown rules, Angela Rayner isn't a likely leadership contender to replace him because she was reportedly at the same event. That's right. But I would say that Bodger's got to go first. I mean, just the very idea that the right-wing press are just getting all over Keir Starmer about the prospect of being fined and completely ignoring the fact that Boris Johnson has already been fined. I mean, hello? Josh said, Eton is more a Bank of England school than a Church of England school. Well, that's just a fact. That seems likely to me, yeah. Let's have Camden. Ellie.
Hi, Nick.
Ellie.
Hello.
Yes, Ellie.
I just wanted to point out that, in fact, or in practice, Angela Rayner is more posh than Boris can ever be, because posh used to mean educated, privileged, and with privilege went a sense of social responsibility, which Angela has in spades, and Boris does not possess any of that.
No.
So, Ergo, she is more posh than Boris. She's also probably really, really good at assigning the right jobs to the right people. That is giving people responsibility for things they know about. Therefore, she would be an asset to the country.
Right. Well, that seems like you've given it a lot of thought there, Ellie.
I didn't hear that because my battery is going.
Your
But thank
battery
you for
is
letting me
going.
say it.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Just about.
Yes. It sounds like you've given that a lot of thought there, Ellie, and I can't disagree with a single solitary word of it.
You mean somebody agrees with me?
Well, let's not get carried away.
I'm sorry about that. I will do better next time.
I look forward to it. Thanks a lot, Ellie.
Night.
Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. Aaron texts, graduates with regional accents vote Labour. Graduates with fake posh accents vote Lib Dem. Okay. Well, all right. That doesn't make much sense to me, but if that's what you think, Aaron, I couldn't possibly disagree. Jack texts, it's my 30th birthday tomorrow. Any advice? Yeah, enjoy it. That's my best advice to you. Enjoy. 30. It sounds old, but it isn't. The big O's. 40 also sounds old, but that's not very old either. 50, that sounds ancient, but it isn't. And when I say but it isn't, I mean it isn't when you get there. At the age of 30, you think 50, blimey, how can anybody live that long? Why would anybody bother to live that long, you think? But when you get to 50, you think, whoa, how did that happen? I was 30 yesterday. How did I become 50 already? And you can just about cope with 50. But when 60 comes around, there's no getting around it. That does sound old. But you don't feel old when you get there. Not in my experience. The next one's 70. How is that even possible? So, yeah, enjoy 30, Jack, and don't freak out that you're not 20-something anymore. Paul says, you should have said that there were swans. That there were swans to the RSPB. Ducks are just common. Yeah, that's right. They would have been straight over. But I imagine that swans aren't stupid enough to lay their little chicklets on somebody's balcony. Swans just seem smarter than that. Just the way they move. They seem as though they're thinking, don't they? Whereas ducks kind of act as though they had their brain removed at birth. Stupid ducks. Christian tweets, can we please find a term for non-woke people, or is there one already? Mean, maybe. Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah. Oh, this war on woke, they're going to keep ramping it up. I can't believe that the latest one is being cruel to ducks and bears because they think that's what their fans will like. I don't recognise this country anymore. What's happening? Claire tweets, foie gras is delicious, like a high-grade parfait. Just lovely, says Claire. Ugh. No, I mean, I'm not that keen on pate, really, because it's like mystery meat. You've got no idea what's in it. Could be anything. Pate, no thanks. But, because it's just so fatty as well, and foie gras is fatty, well, it's just fat. I don't like the mouthfeel of fat. Not for me, no thanks. Appreciate it, but I'll have something else. C tweets, you must try hazelnut milk in coffee. No, I've tried that already. I've done all of those milks. I've tried every single one of them. Almond milk and hazelnut milk and rice milk. Ugh. But like I said before, the absolute worst was, I couldn't actually get to the end of the carton, was hemp milk.
Want to score some pot?
No thanks. Just say no thank you. I mean, good manners don't cost nothing, do they?
Be polite!
Laurie says, with all that milk you're drinking, you should get yourself a cow. That's not where it comes from, is it? Ugh. May tweets, remember seeing that there was a problem with real fur being sold as vegan faux fur a while back in 2020, which might explain where the bulk of the imports of fur are going. That seems unlikely. How can actual fur be cheaper than fake fur? Sue says, am I anywhere near the end of these? No. Well, I don't know. Page 9 of 13. Sue says, Sakir needs a makeover. An makeover. An eating... A tattoo and eating. A tattoo, Boris hair, he's got more. Chewing gum would look edgy, I could go on. Yeah, but don't though, Sue. I'll pay you a lot of money not to. He needs new hair.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't. Kathy texts, have you heard that we got monkeypox now? Yeah, and you know what occurred to me the moment I read that about the monkeypox? I wonder if there is a medical expert who can tell us whether monkeypox can have hot virus relations with the invisible bat disease and create something new and exciting that we all got to hide from for the rest of our lives. I bet that's crossed your mind too. God, will it ever end? That's something else for Bodger. And here's the thing. If something like that does happen, can you imagine Bodge standing behind a lectern and telling us all to stay inside? No one's going to pay the slightest bit of attention. Lost all credibility. That's the problem. And as long as he's not telling us anything important, then that doesn't really make no never mind. As long as he's just spending his day raiding somebody else's dressing up box and pretending to do someone else's job for a living while he gets his photograph taken, well, nobody cares. Because nobody's really, paying him much attention. He's just the funny bloke off the telly. Paw! Like that. But if something does get serious, if he has to stand there behind a lectern with a 3-word slogan, and he says, well, monkeypox has had sex with the coronavirus, and now we're all going to die, so you've got to go and stay inside now. I, Boris Johnson, are insisting, by the way, under threat of fines, that you all stay inside. I mean, you'll be throwing things at the TV. You'll be saying... No. No. And furthermore... No, we ain't going to do it. A loss of authority, Bodger. What do you think about that?
I can't comment on that.
I'm going to be back at 10 o'clock this evening. In the meantime, this show will get squirted up the internet as a podcast almost the moment that it is finished. We take the news and the ads out, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity, and you still won't be able to pay your fuel bill come the winter. But, at least we're making an effort. It's called Nick Abbott, The Whole Show. You'll find it on Global Player. Just do an internet search on my name, Nick Abbott, podcasts, and the 3 that I do will become apparent as though by magic. I'm back at 10. Ian Payne is here at 4. First, it's Clive Bull.
Nick, thank you. And coming up, well, we'll be doing a bit more digesting of the local election results. And in particular, was housing a key issue? Because Michael Gove says it was. Housing cost the Conservatives votes in the local elections, with not enough people now being able to buy their own homes. So what should the government be doing about the housing crisis? And is he right? Was it a big issue? Also, the fur and foie gras, Boris Johnson dropping those plans to ban the import and sale from the Queen's speech after Cabinet Ministers warned it was fundamentally unconservative. We'll talk about that. We'll have a look at the Sunday front pages in some detail. That's all coming up after the news at 1 on LBC.